So in the previous video, we have discussed the application of calculus in physics. Today, we are going to discuss about the application of calculus in business and economics. Calculus in business and economics, of course. Calculus in business and economics. So before we are going to solve problems in business and economics involving calculus, let me recall you some basic terminologies and formulas like the total cost, revenue, profit, and others. So the first one that you should remember is that, of course, recall. So anyway, the first one is total costs. Total cost of a business. So total cost is nothing, it is a combination of the variable cost and the fixed cost. So total cost is the sum of what? The variable costs. It is a variable cost plus what? Fixed cost. So for any business, total cost is nothing. It is a combination or the sum of the variable cost and the fixed cost. So this variable cost is usually denoted by f of x, where x is the output or the units, right? So this fixed cost doesn't depend on the level of the outputs. You have to remember this. So this fixed cost is usually denoted by k. So total cost is denoted by c of x. It's a function, which is a function of course, that output x. So that total cost is given by the variable cost, which is usually denoted by f of x, which depends on the level of the output x plus the fixed cost. So total cost is given by variable cost plus the fixed cost. So you should remember this formula. Call it speed. The second formula or the second terminology that I should record in business and economics is that the average total cost. Average, of course, average total cost or simply the average cost. This average cost is usually denoted by this AC, so which is the total cost divided by the outputs X. You should remember that this fixed cost is independent of the output level, alright? And this variable cost doesn't contain any constant. So total cost is nothing. That's f of x variable cost plus fixed cost k over what? X. So the average cost is given by the variable cost plus the total the fixed cost over x. You have to also remember this formula. Of course, this is the second formula. The third formula is that average variable costs, the average of the given variable costs, which is the variable cost divided by the output x. You know that the variable cost is denoted by f of x, so f of x over what? X. So the average variable cost is given by f of x over what? X. The fourth formula that you should, the average fixed costs. The average fixed costs. So the average fixed cost is given by the fixed cost divided by the output x. You know that the fixed cost is given by what? K. So k over what? X. So the average fixed cost is given by k divided by the outputs x. So the fixed formula that you should remember is that the marginal costs, which is of course denoted by MC, which is change in total costs, change in, of course, total costs over change in the quantity X or the output X. So the rate of change of the total cost with respect to the output or the variable or the quantity X is, which is the marginal cost. So automatically it is the derivative of d by dx of the total cost, of course, with respect to X. So simply this is the derivative of the total cost. So marginal cost is nothing. It is the rate of change of the total cost with respect to X, quantity X, or the output X. So which is so simply it is a derivative of the total cost. So marginal cost is given by the derivative of what? The total cost. So if you have been given the total cost and asked to find the marginal cost, so you need just to integrate what? The total cost. So automatically taking integration both sides, so the total cost is the integral of the marginal cost with respect to what? X. If in case the marginal cost is given as a function of X and the total cost is asked, then you need just to integrate that marginal cost and with respect to what? X. So marginal cost is nothing the derivative of the total cost, and total cost is nothing the integral of the marginal cost, of course, as a function of X with respect to X. And the sixth one is marginal average cost. The marginal average costs. So which is the change in average cost with respect to, of course, the quantity or the output X. The marginal average cost is given by the change in average cost with respect to X. So this is nothing the derivative of that average cost, of course, with respect to what? X. So the marginal average cost is given by the derivative of the average cost, of course, which is d by dx of what? The average cost. In case the marginal average cost is given and the average cost is asked, then to find that average cost, you need just to integrate the marginal average cost. So the average cost will be the integral of the marginal average cost with respect to what? X. If the marginal average cost is given and the average cost is asked, then you just integrate that marginal average cost with respect to X and you can get what? The average cost. So the next terminology that should recall is that revenue function, of course. Revenue what? Function, of course, which is denoted by R of X. So if X unit of a product is sold at a price of P, of course, per unit, then this revenue function is defined by that price times X. Of course, this P and X are what? They are what? They are positive. So the revenue function is given by the price of each unit times the number of units, of course, sold. And under this revenue function, there is the average revenue function. Average revenue, okay, AR, of course. The average revenue is nothing. So the average revenue is nothing, total revenue over what? The total revenue or the revenue function over what? The output or the product X. So it's the revenue function which is R of X over X, but R of X is Px over X, so that X will be cancelled down, so that will be. So the average revenue is equal with that of the price of each of the units. Now, the second terminology in this revenue function is that marginal revenue, right? Marginal revenue function. So marginal, which is denoted by, of course, MR. Marginal revenue is denoted by, of course, MR. So which is change in this total revenue function R of X, change in R of X over change in the quantity or the variable or the output X. So this is the rate of change of that total revenue with respect to X, of course. So which is a derivative d by dx of what? The revenue function R of X. So the marginal revenue is given by simply the derivative of what? That's total revenue function. So the marginal revenue is given by the derivative of the revenue function. In case, if the marginal revenue is given as a function of X, as a function of the output X, and the revenue function is asked, so you need just to integrate that, the marginal revenue function. So the revenue function R of X is given by the integral of that marginal revenue function, of course, as a function of X with respect to what? X. If that revenue function is given, if that marginal revenue function is given in terms of X, then if you have been asked the revenue function, then that revenue function is given by integrating that marginal revenue function with respect to what? X. And the third terminology that you should remember is that the profit function, of course. Profit function, of course, which is denoted by P of X. So the profit function is nothing as the word itself indicates. So profit means the difference between the revenue and what? The cost. So profit function is given by which is R of X, the revenue function minus the total cost function. The total cost function. Total cost function. So let's do example. This example is of course as usual from your textbook. One of the exercise might be exercise 219 somewhere else. Anyway, so the solution is here. The first one, okay. So what is given? Given that the total cost function is given to be 62x squared plus 27,500, okay? And the revenue function is given x cubed minus 12x squared plus 400x plus sale, okay? The production and from the sale of the units, of course, the units x. Now, so total cost function is given to be 62x squared plus 27,500, and that revenue function is given to be what? Which is x cubed minus 12x squared plus 14x plus what? 10. Okay. The first question is find the total profit. How the bar total profit? Total profit. The total cost, total revenue, and total profit from the sale of 15 units of the product. And the third question, marginal cost, the marginal revenue, the marginal profit when 50 units are sold. Variable cost, average variable cost, average fixed cost, and fixed cost, and average revenue, and Anyway, so the first one is what is a profit? That means the profit function P of X is given by the revenue function R of X minus the cost function, which is a total cost function, which is C of X. So revenue function is of course x cubed minus 12x squared plus 14x plus 10, then minus the cost function is given by 62x squared plus 27,500. So this is the profit function one. So P of X, the profit function is ስለዚህ አሁን እያንዳንዱ ፕሮፊት 20 ምርት ሲሸጥ 30 ምርት ሲሸጥ 40 ምርት ሲሸጥ የድርጅቱ ፕሮፊት ስንት ነው ካለ በፕሮፊት ፈንክሽኑ ቦታ በኤክስ ቦታ ያስገባል then the profits when 50 units are sold when 100 units are sold የሚለውን ማግኘት እንችላለን ማለት ነው anyway so this is x cubed እዚህ ጋር ኔጌቲቭ 12x አለ እዚህ ጋር ኔጌቲቭ 62x አለ so total will be what 74 negative 74 x squared እዚህ ጋር 14x አለ ማይነስ የለም እዛ ጋር so plus 14x እዚህ ጋር 10 አለ ሲቀነስ 27500 so that will be of course negative 27400 So this is what you call the profit function ነው አሁን ይሄ profit functionation ነው ስለዚህ ድርጅቱ 100 ምርት ሲሸጥ 200 ምርት ሲሸጥ 300 ምርት ሲሸጥ 20 ምርት ሲሸጥ የሚያገኘው ፕሮፊት ተናገሩ ብትባሉ ፈልጉ ብትባሉ በኤክስ ቦታ የተሸጡት ምርቶች ብዛት እያስገባችሁ then the profit value ፕሮፊቱን ማግኘት ነው ማለት ነው then the next is what is the total cost revenue and profit from the sale of 15 units በጣም ሲምፕል ነው ምንድነው የምታደርጉት total cost when from the sale of 50 units of the product አላል ስለዚህ በtotal cost function ውስጥ በኤክስ ቦታ 50 ታስገባላችሁ okay question number of course that is b so c of 50 ማለት cost functionation ውስጥ በኤክስ ቦታ 50 ማስገባት 50 ምርት ሲሸጥ ብለዋል so which is c of 50 ትፈልጋላችሁ እዚህ ጋር 50 ያስገባችሁ calculate that and what is the total revenue when 50 units are sold so r of 50 50 ታስገቡና በrevenue function ውስጥ በኤክስ ቦታ 50 አስገብታችሁ ትሰሩታላችሁ and find the total profit from the sale of 50 ማለት profit functionችን እዚህ ጋር አግኝተናል so p of 50 ታረጉና ከዛ በኤክስ ቦታ 50 ያስገባችሁ ታረጋላችሁ ትሰራላችሁ ይሄ በጣም ሲምፕል ስለሆነ 50 እዛ ውስጥ ማስገባት። አሁን የመጀመሪያው ለምሳሌ 62 which is 62 times 50 squared plus 27500 ኦኬ 27500 ይሄ 2500 ነው 2562 ሲባዛ 2500 ሲባዛ 27500 ስለዚህ ይሄን አባስታችሁ ስሩ። The next problem question number C, find the marginal cost, marginal revenue and the marginal profit which is what? We are on marginal cost ማለት ምን ብለው ነው? The change in total cost over change in the quantity ብለናል። marginal revenue ደግሞ change in total revenue over the change in quantity ብለናል። and marginal profit is change in profit over change in quantity. So we are going to take the derivative of the functions ማለት. Okay, let's do. So question number C is what is the marginal cost? So marginal cost is nothing d by dx of what? The total cost. That means the derivative of total cost. ስለዚህ ይሄን ምን ታደርጋላችሁ? ደሪቬት ታደርጋላችሁ። The derivative of 62x squared plus 20,500 of course. So you just take the derivative of this one. Derivative ምን ይሰጣችኋል? ይሄ ወደዚህ ጋር ይሆናል. So 124x derivative of this one is of course 0. So አሁን ምንድነው ያለው? What is the marginal cost when 15 units are sold ነው? 50 ዩኒቶች ወይም 50 ፕሮዳክት ሲሸጡ what is the value of the marginal cost ነው ያለው? So you just insert this in here ማለት ነው. So the marginal cost of course as a function of x which is marginal cost evaluated at 50 ስለዚህ እዚህ ውስጥ 124 ሲባዛ ምን ታደርጋላችሁ? በ50 አድርጋችሁ መስራት። What about the marginal revenue? So marginal revenue is given by what? d by dx of the revenue function. The derivative of the revenue function. That means the derivative of r of x. And our revenue function is given by this one. So the derivative of x squared plus 14x plus 10 of course. Then take the derivative of this one. Derivative of x squared is 2x plus derivative of 14x is 40. So the marginal revenue of the production when x is equal to 15 units is sold ነው አይደል? So 50 አሁን እዚህ ጋር ነው ታስቀምጡ 2 times 50 plus what? 10 ይሆናል which is IT 110. And thirdly, what is the marginal profit now? So marginal profit is nothing changing profit function over changing that quantity x, right? So that will be the derivative of the profit function with respect to x. So what is the profit function? The profit function is x cubed minus 74x squared of course plus 14x minus 27,490 27,000. So the derivative of this one. So this derivative will be what? Is the derivative ይሆናል 3x squared minus 2 በ74 I think 148 which is x of course, and the derivative of this one is what? 40. So what is the value of the marginal profit when 15 units are sold? So the marginal profit when 15 units are sold, so that will be here 3 times 15 the whole squared minus 148 plus what? 40 ያረጋችሁ መስራት ነው ማለት ነው። ኦኬ ስለዚህ አሁን ልባርኩ አሁን እዚሁ ጥያቄ ላይ find the average total cost, the average variable cost, find the average fixed cost, find the average revenue ሊል ይችላል። ስለዚህ average find the average total cost ካለ that total cost over the quantity x. Find the average variable cost ካለ our variable cost is f of x constant ሳያካትት ማለት so that's variable cost divided by what? X. So let's do the second problem. A firm produces x tons of output at a total cost of the cost function given by 1 over 10x cubed minus 4x squared plus 20x plus 5. Good. Find the average cost, the average fixed costs, the average variable cost, the average fixed cost, the marginal cost, the marginal average cost, and others. Anyway, so the solution is here. Question number A. What is the average cost? So average cost is equal to total costs total cost divided by the quantity x or the output x. So what's the total cost? Total cost is given here. So 1 over 10 x cubed minus 4x squared plus 20x plus 5, of course, divided by what? X. And አካፍላችሁ ማስቀመጥ ነው። ይሄ ለዚህ ሲካፈል ይሄ ለዚህ ሲካፈል ይሄ ለዚህ ሲካፈል ይሄ ለዚህ ማካፈል። The second one, find the average variable cost. So the average variable cost is the variable cost divided by the quantity x. So what's the variable cost? Variable cost የሚባለው አሁን እዚህ ጋር ተመልከቱ። The function or the cost which is free from constant, or the cost function which is depending on the quantity x ማለት ነው። So this part ነው. So the variable cost 1 over 10x cubed minus 4 squared plus 20x. አሁን ኮንስታንት ይሄ ፊክስድ ኮስት ነው። ፊክስድ ኮስት ነው አንጽፍም ኦቨር the quantity x ታረጉና ይሄ በዚህ ይጣፋል፣ ይሄ በዚህ ይጣፋል፣ ይሄ በዚህ ይጣፋል። ስለዚህ ምን አገኘን? 1 over 10x squared minus 4x plus what? 20. That is the average variable cost. Question number C is the average fixed cost. The average fixed cost is given by fixed cost divided by the quantity x. What is the fixed cost? The fixed cost is, you know that total cost is variable cost plus fixed cost, right? Don't forget this. Total cost is the variable cost plus the fixed cost. Our fixed cost ታችን ማን ነው? 5. The variable cost ታችን ማን ነው? ከዚህ እስከዚህ ያለው. So which is 5 over what? X. Question number D is the marginal cost. So the marginal cost is nothing the d by dx of the total cost. So which is the derivative of that one. 1 over 10x cubed minus 4x squared plus 20x plus 5. ይሄን ምን ታደርጋላችሁ? Derivate ታደርጉና the derivative of this is of course 3 over 10x squared. Derivative of this one is 8x and derivative of this one is what? 3. ልባርጉ እንደዚህ ጥቃቅን ነገሮች ጥንቃቄ አድርጉና ስሩ። ልሳሳት ለምሳሌ ይሄን ደሪቬት ሳደርግ 2 የነበረው 3 አድርጌ ላደርግ እችላለሁ። Anyway, and question number E is what? The marginal average cost. The marginal average. What's the marginal average cost? The marginal average cost is change in the average cost divided by change. That means the rate of change of the average cost with respect to x. That means the derivative of the average cost with respect to x. So what is the average cost? The average cost is given here. The average cost is given in total cost over x. So this one. So the derivative of this one. የዚህኛው derivative ምን ይሰጣል? The marginal average cost. So that is the derivative of መጀመሪያ ይሄ ከዚህ ጋር ይሄ ከዚህ ጋር ይሄ ከዚህ ጋር. So the derivative of what? That is the derivative of this 1 over 10 x cubed ይሄን x አካፍሉ እዚህ ጋር 1 over 10 x squared ይሆናል አይደል? Okay, x squared. Then እዚህ ጋር ይሄ ሲካፈል 4 or 14 4. Okay, 4x ይሆናል። ይሄ እዚህ ሲካፈል plus 3 ይሆናል። Finally plus 5 over x. So ይሄን ምን ታደርጋላችሁ? Derivative of 1 over 10x squared, the derivative of 4x, the derivative of 20, and the derivative of 5 over x. That means the derivative of 1 over x, 5 times 1 over x. ይሄን ታስቀምጡ። አሁን ልብ አድርጉ። ፎርሙላዎቹን በቃል ለመያዝ ሞክሩ። ተምራችኋል። ኦፍ ኮርስ ላስታውሳችሁ ብዬ ነው። እኔ አሁን ቀጥታ ወደ ጥያቄዎቹ ዝም ብዬ መግባት እችል ነበር፣ ግን ምናልባት የሚረሳ ተማሪ ሊኖር ስለሚችል ብዬ ነው ፎርሙላዎቹን ያስታወስኳችሁ። ስለዚህ ፎርሙላዎቹን በደንብ ያዙ። ቶታል ኮስት ማለት variable cost plus fixed cost. Variable cost ማለት which is free from the cost. The fixed cost is free from the variable or the quantity x. And the average total cost, the marginal total cost, the average variable cost, the average fixed cost, revenue function ማለት which is p times x, and the average revenue function and the marginal revenue function. And profit function means nothing, which is the revenue function minus the cost, the total cost function ማለት ነው። Good.